Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Two. You're here at the White Belt Podcast, a podcast where we just talk about personal growth, how to be better versions of ourselves, learn from our mistakes, and just ultimately try to be better versions of ourselves through like our journeys. And I got my guest today, Phillip Khue.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So nice to have you here. Thank you for coming by.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me, man.
Yeah.
It's an honor, honestly.
So Phil is a collegiate wrestler, right?
Yep.
D2 currently. And then obviously wrestled all through high school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just tell me a little bit about, just so that the guests know right off the bat kind of who you are. Just tell me about like, where are you from? What's your background? And then we can talk about obviously your high school and your college career. And then I'll probably ask you questions in between. So don't mind if I interrupt you. I'll try not to cut you off too much.
Yeah. Yeah. So starting off, I'm from Portland, Oregon. Grew up there all my life, all 18 years. I got a brother, sister, whole family's out there. Small known community out in Portland. But shout out to those people. Supported me all throughout the way. Yeah. Just background wise, it was an up and down road going from high school to college, and it still is, but we're trying to make it work. And yeah, everything else is kind of just came along on the way.
Yeah. When did you start? When did you first get on a mat?
First time on the mat, all right, so starting off, I didn't want to wrestle.
Okay.
So my dad was previously a wrestler.
Okay.
And so he wasn't very good at it when he got into it.
Yeah.
My grandparents didn't really support wrestling in that type of manner because of, the physicality of it.
Right.
And so, but my dad knew that there's so many good outcomes from it. So when I turned 5 and my brother's two or 3 years older than me.
Okay.
I lose track of years.
Yeah.
But he threw us in when I was 5, and that was the first time I've touched the mat. And starting off, it's fun. You're a little kid running around on the mat, and it was a good time. It was a good time. But the first time I competed was in 2nd grade.
Okay, so you're like 7.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's when we started out real at the like baseball, like minor league wrestling basically. And so I wasn't good at all. It was probably the toughest sport I've ever done. Telling my dad telling me to go out there and pin this kid is kind of something hard to get through my mind at that age. But yeah, I think when I was 5, it was probably the first time I stepped on the mat.
Nice. So, and then did your brother already wrestle at school or in a program before you? Because he's a little bit older. Is he a wrestler?
Yeah, he is a wrestler. He's a head coach right now at
nice.
a school back home. So I'm proud of him for that. But no. So when we started, we kind of just started at the same time.
Okay.
So wherever my brother was at, we just started there, and he kind of took a break throughout the years. He kind of took it a little harder than I did.
Yeah.
Growing up through it, I get like everyone knows wrestling's a hard sport, and
Yeah,
it's real grueling
absolutely.
on the body, real tiring. It's long practices, and it's not just like I'm working out my arms; it's your whole body.
Yeah. You're
getting beat up every day, so it was kind of hard for my brother growing up with it. But in high school, he kind of picked it back up, and he had a lot of success, but had a couple incidents along the way, but that set him back. But he ended up coming back to it.
Did your dad ever tell you why? Did you ever ask your dad why he put you in wrestling? Obviously, besides that, we know he wrestled. Mm-hmm. Did he wrestle high school, or what was his? Did he tell you?
So my dad wrestled in high school. The reason why he put us in wrestling, aside from the fact that he wrestled, it's the fact that we just got good at it.
Yeah. Okay.
We didn't just do wrestling. We played soccer, basketball. We did what we wanted until 4th grade, maybe.
Okay.
But it just came to a point where my dad asked us. He was like, "Hey, you guys got to pick one."
Okay, so he made you choose.
Mm-hmm. And we couldn't pick. I loved everything.
You're 9 years old.
Mm-hmm. I want to live my life. I want to play. I want to be a tri-sport athlete.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't realistic in his eyes. So, and I playing basketball as someone who's going to be 5'7", 5'6" in the
Is that how tall you are now?
For your 5'6".
5'6".
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's it was hard for my dad to believe that it was going to be a future for
Yeah.
us. And that's when we started to get really good at wrestling. So
Yeah.
he was like, hey, like, let's stick with wrestling. Let's go look at clubs. I want to put you in something that's going to push you further for college or maybe even just high school. And so we did that. And for like a month there, we were just experimenting at different clubs
Okay.
in my 4th grade year. And it was a hard process. I didn't like any of them.
Yeah.
But
Was it fun to you as a kid though? Like, I mean, I know, I know it sounds like your dad was already putting some pressure on you to choose a sport and to do well in one thing. Like, in that time period, was it just I just go to wrestling because my pop's telling me, or like was it fun? It's a combination of both, or you just a kid just not even thinking?
it's fun. I mean, it was definitely fun growing up.
Yeah.
It. I think there was moments where I shied away from the fun. But yeah, I think I enjoyed it for the most part. I mean, me being a competitive guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It's just in my blood.
Yeah.
I love the fight. I mean, I grew up fighting, so being in a combat sport where it's a legalized fight,
Right.
And so, I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, aside like growing up, I mean, I'd never had the strongest mindset,
Yeah.
but that developed throughout the way.
Right.
You don't get that right off the bat. But yeah, for sure, I enjoyed that.
Yeah. And then then you go through your junior, and then you start wrestling for school, right? Probably in junior high, start wrestling there, go to high school, and so like tell me about tell me what your record was at high school, because I was reading your sheet, your stat sheet. I'm like, holy crap, this kid's really took it far in high school. So what was your record at the end of your high school career? And just tell me about how it started, like as a freshman. Well, were you wrestling? Do you wrestle? Do junior high, in 8th grade? Are you wrestling up if you're good enough? Or
So I think that's only allowed here.
oh, okay,
But in Oregon, no, we have our own separate state for junior high and high school.
okay,
But high school, yeah, that was probably the highlight of my career, probably
yeah,
the funnest time. But my overall record was 204-4, I believe, with outside competition and inside, and so.
So you start wrestling as a freshman. You just run through people right away. The first,
Man. So freshman year, it was tough, man. I was real little my freshman year. I was like,
yeah. What was your wrestling weight?
so I wrestled 106 my freshman year, but I wasn't even like touching 106.
Okay.
And so I was like walking around 105, 104, and so I was real little for the weight. I didn't get big. I didn't start growing until the back end of my season. So once state came, I actually was like weighing 118, and so I actually had to cut weight
Yeah, to
again.
cut. Yeah.
And so
Was that your first time cutting freshman year?
state, yeah.
Okay,
probably.
first time that you had to cut.
And so yeah, I think freshman year was probably the hardest. I didn't start off running through kids. I mean, it was a transition. I mean, wrestling kids in middle school is a little different. It's just like high school to college. I mean,
Right.
there's always levels to this thing, and so it was pretty challenging. So I had to really acclimate to the environment and the style of wrestling in high school.
Yeah. So you go through high school. When did your losses come in those 4 L's that you got through high school? Was that like senior year, or just kind of one each year, or
So
how'd that break out?
my freshman year, I lost 2 matches.
Okay.
And then my sophomore year, I lost 2, and then my junior senior, I didn't lose any, and so it was good. I actually did lose 1 outside match my senior year. It was at nationals in Iowa.
Yep.
And that was probably one of my toughest losses. I mean, I should have won it.
Personal mistakes, or just a hell of a competitor, or
He's hell of a competitor.
Yeah.
I mean, in high school at that time, he was probably ranked 1 or 2 in the nation.
yeah.
And so going up against him, me and my dad put up the perfect game plan.
Yeah.
I think it was like 6 months after state.
Yep.
And so I was like, it's been a minute since
Yeah.
I've been on a stage like this, and
Yeah.
my nerves kind of got to me, and I had kind of an adrenaline rush right before that,
Yeah.
and I kind of crashed mid-match, and it just kind of went downhill from there. But I mean, I'm not, I don't shame on it. It's just
Yeah.
something I look back on. I know now to calm myself down before my match and kind of just be in the moment and try to thrive through it.
Yeah, now you've been doing it so long, I'm sure you have a pretty good mindset as to how to enter into a match before it starts. I know from personal experience, like I've only done 2 boxing matches, but there's a weird calm before the storm, right? Usually you're pretty chill, but I had it both ways in both fights. Once I was really chill, like just listening to music, like almost like the world didn't exist around me because you know
Yeah.
you're about to enter battle. And then the other time where you're like actually thinking about the crowd, thinking about the people that are there, and you're a little bit anxious,
Yeah.
which I guess sometimes probably can come to your advantage. But
Yeah. The nerves really, I mean, they still hit me
Yeah.
now. I mean, it's like I said, I mean, it's the college scene. It's the highest
Yeah,
level you
right,
can get
right.
besides Olympic and world wrestling. And so I mean, I don't think it'll ever go away,
You're
really.
right.
I mean, I don't really want it to.
Yeah,
It kinda
yeah.
makes
You
me
want
feel,
you want it to be a little bit like
yeah,
that, right?
it shows me that like I'm human.
Yeah,
These
right,
guys are
right,
feeling the same thing,
right.
you know. Like if I didn't feel that feeling, I mean, I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I think a lot of people. Sometimes you see athletes, and I get to talk to you now, which is awesome because you compete at a pretty high level. And then I have a friend that's in the UFC or a friend that's fought in Glory, and I've got to train with those guys too. And the nice thing is, if you're not in that combat world or just haven't met athletes who do it at a high level, it's like you forget that they're humans too, and like, yeah, they're skilled, yeah, they're really good at what they do, and they can run everybody in the gym, but every human you have some doubt going into it, right? You don't know what the outcome's going to be.
exactly.
And that's the high risk, high reward of sports, but especially combat sports where, it's, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
You're going to be
No,
struggling.
for sure, for sure. I mean, I think, especially like what you said, combat athletes, we get a bad rap for not being humans. Technically,
Yeah.
You know, like you see it in the UFC all the time. I mean, it's like, oh man, how's this guy just running through people? Like,
Yeah.
he has to be on drugs or something.
Right.
No, like he's just doing his thing.
Right.
I mean, it's in his nature right now. It's his job. So
And he's putting in that time. They're definitely putting in that time to just, because all you can do is really just try to be as confident as you can be before you enter the mat, and know that you've done your homework, and hope that everything that you've done, all the conditioning that you've done, and building your mindset is ready that in that short period in time. Because how long is a wrestling match usually?
so in college, it's 7 minutes.
It's a 7-minute period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 3-minute first period, 2-minute second, and 2-minute third,
Okay.
and then overtimes. That's a whole another thing. But,
Yeah. So let me go back just a little bit to high school. So when you're competing in high school, is it just more fun, or like at what age did you really, really develop like where you could feel in yourself where your competitive spirit like really, really came out, right? Because there's always a stage where you kind of just do things because it's fun, and then eventually you become like a hyper competitor.
Right. I think so. Actually, this came before high school.
Okay.
But, probably my 8th grade year.
Okay.
So going up from 4th grade to 8th grade, like I had very little to no success.
Yeah.
And I think once I hit my 8th grade year, I went to nationals and regionals and all these big tournaments, and I was placing top 3 at all of them. And this was like out of nowhere. My parents were like, "How is this possible?"
Yeah.
They knew I worked hard. They knew I deserved it, but they didn't really see it in me yet.
Yeah.
You know? They didn't find that dog in me. But and then once I hit my freshman year, that's when my dad was really wanting to test how far I can go with this, and we got through it. And end of the year came, and I took 3rd at state that year, and he just kind of told me, he was like, yeah, you can go far with this. I mean, we're not going to push you to nothing. I mean, ultimately, they just wanted me to go to school.
Was your so that's kind of 9th grade after winning that, your dad talking to you? Is that when you kind of like really took it in and like the self-belief really came into you to be like, hey, shit, maybe I am pretty good at this and I can go far? And then is that when you kind of became a little bit more hyper focused on just,
Oh, for sure.
let's train like it means something?
Yeah, I I mean, once we had that conversation. I mean, it wasn't just my dad; it was me and my coaches.
Yeah,
my
right,
mom,
right.
dad.
Everybody around.
But me and my dad, growing up through it, we have that connection. So
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he tells me something about what I'm good at, it just gives me that extra boost.
Yeah,
and
for
me
sure.
having that success leading up to it, it was just like, okay, like if someone else sees it and my coaches see it and my teammates see it,
Yeah.
like only one who needs to see it is myself.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, oh yeah, like my dad had a big part in boosting my ego in wrestling. But yeah, I mean that's
Yeah, and
ultimately all I'm
so
gonna say.
so then you go through high school, you smash a bunch of people. I'm sure in the state you're making a name for yourself in your own state. We're not even going to talk about the Hmong community, who's probably starting to hear about you towards the later part of your senior year. But just for yourself in your state, I'm sure through high school, all the coaches, everybody, your name's kind of starting to pop up, right? Because now you're winning a ton. You're really not losing anything.
Mhm.
So what was the goal at that point? Then you when did you start eyeing? Did you have recruiters already come kind of chat with you?
So like I said, I mean I told you this before, but Oregon isn't really big for wrestling.
Okay.
And so even with my accolades and all the things I held going into my junior year, sophomore year, I actually didn't get any
Okay.
recruiting messages. I didn't get any emails, but I mean, I got little minor ones from like community colleges and
yeah.
like D3s, but my coaches didn't want that in the picture. They're like,
Yeah.
you gotta shoot for the highest. Worst comes to worst, you go to a D3 school.
Right.
And so I actually was looking to go to Oregon State right off the bat, and my parents were like, no, like we don't want you here. We want you to get out of your comfort zone, go
Yeah.
live a life as a college student, as an adult, go learn some life lessons. So that's part of the reason why I chose Ohio State right off the bat. I mean, it was just like, all right, I'm going out, Ohio, across the country, got to live on my own, learn.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my parents' goal. And I mean, I think it's paying off. But
Yeah, and Ohio State is, when it comes to wrestling, it's what, maybe top 3,
oh yeah,
number 1, 2, then Wisconsin, Iowa.
Mhm. So they're actually placed fourth at nationals this year.
Okay.
And so I mean, as a team that's growing right now, I'm super proud of them for doing what they did this year. But yeah, they're definitely one of the top tier schools.
Did you guys scout a couple different was so then when you made your mind, or once you guys started looking into like different colleges, was Ohio kind of the goal at that point, or did you find a couple schools that were of interest, and it's just that Ohio had more interest in you, or was Ohio like that's where we're going?
I think so. So when Ohio, it's a funny story how me and Ohio actually even got a hold of each other.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
my aunt was a professor
Oh,
at
okay.
Ohio
That's
State,
right.
and so she wanted me to go to a wrestling camp out there, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go. It's the summertime, like I want to just relax before senior year.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, we had a family reunion trip planned, and we just got home from it, and my dad comes to my room. He's like, hey, you got keep all your stuff together, like you're going to Ohio tomorrow.
You're going right away, yeah.
And I was like, all right. So I stayed out there for 2 weeks, wrestled with them, and the recruiter at Ohio State actually talked to me and wanted me to put me on a trip, asking my grades, asked if I've committed anywhere already, and I had no idea about this process. Like I'm a sophomore at this point,
You're just
and so
going
I'm-
through
yep.
you're just going through a camp. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I was actually competing with all those guys at Ohio State.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, like I'm ready for this. And but so that's how I met Ohio, and that's how they talked to me. But yeah, so throughout the recruiting process, they actually showed a lot of interest.
Yeah.
And so that's why I verbally committed there so quickly. But I actually emailed the coach at St. Cloud State University
Yeah.
like right before I went on this trip to Ohio State, and they wanted to put me on a trip, but I loved Ohio so much on that trip that I was like, I can't not take this offer, and so I took it. And
Yeah, when you did that little, it's like a 2-week camp for wrestlers all across the country just to come in. Is just
it was majority of the East Coast. I mean,
yeah,
they weren't really throwing it. They threw it out to everyone, but
Yeah.
majority was like from Pennsylvania, Ohio, Jersey.
So was that your first time? Had you done camps outside of your own state before that one? with like a lot of wrestlers from different regions of the country?
I haven't actually. That was probably the first camp I've done like out of state without my parents. I was all
Yeah.
there alone.
So what'd you learn in that one? Were you keep it up on par? Would you say, did it feel like you were able to hold your own there, that gave you extra confidence, or was it a mixture of a little bit of that and some failures as well, and just letting you know like I got to keep going a little harder at this?
I think so. Going into it, I was scared. Because
Yeah.
everyone knows the Midwest, West Coast, East Coast
Yeah.
styles do not collide. It's not one, but I was surprisingly holding my own.
Yeah.
I mean, we did like a mini tournament and I won it. I won both tournaments. So I felt pretty good about myself
Yeah.
there. But when I got into wrestling the college kids, that's when I was like getting my butt whooped the whole
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And so it was just a different environment for me, and I liked it. I mean, sometimes you just gotta live through the grind and
Yeah.
kind of accept those failures and use them for motivation.
Right. So you finish, so you graduate your senior year, and then in your senior year, you've already committed at that point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So throughout my whole senior year, I was committed.
Oh, you
to
already committed to.
Ohio State, and so no other coaches were talking to me.
Okay.
And I mean, we had like a couple. I was training at a community college then because my high school coaches just figured like there's no point in you coming to these high school practices. So
Yeah.
just go practice with the college kids. And so I did, went out there, practiced, but and they always tried recruiting me. They're like, "Hey, we'll give you a full ride if you come here." But I knew what the goal was.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to be at the highest level, and Ohio State was going to take me there.
Yeah.
And obviously, things didn't work out there, but
Yeah.
still love all the guys out there.
Yeah.
Appreciate some of the coaches, and so
Yeah, and we'll talk about that, but I want to go back to just real quick. So you win state 3 years in a row?
yeah,
That's sophomore, junior, senior year?
yeah, tough. It was a tough journey, man.
Yeah,
It was-
those are. I mean, state in wrestling is anywhere just to make it. First of all, just to make it to state, especially in an individual sport.
Yeah.
There's no team carrying your back, right? So you get your coaches. Obviously, it's never an individual journey. We know that, but to make it to state and then to win state 3 times in a row must have felt pretty good.
Oh yeah, it felt good, but a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
of pressure on me, and it was it gave me a lot of anxiety because every
Yeah.
time my dad, he's very humbling, my mom's very humbling,
Yeah.
so it's like they don't want me to get a big head on me,
Right.
and so
right.
they're like, hey, you got a target on your back, like you can't stop doing what things you did to get to this point, and so I just had to keep it going. I mean, it kept the fire burning.
Yeah, because I assume you win your first state championship, and then all of a sudden it's like you said, target on your back. you're the guy. In what weight class is that? Your first state?
113.
113.
Yep.
Was it 113 all for all of them?
No, so sophomore year I was 113. Junior year I was 126.
Yep.
And then senior year I was 132.
Okay.
So I grew steadily throughout the years. But
Yeah.
actually it was funny. I mean, in high school I won all these state championships, and obviously there's a target on my back.
Yeah.
But I actually grew through the system with like negativity around me. I mean, no one liked me in the state.
Yeah.
I just don't know why. I mean, I know I have a lot of friends in the wrestling community out there, but I don't know. We had like this forum thing for wrestling, and all the parents and coaches would be on there, wrestlers, and they just kind of talk about how the wrestling and seedings are going, rankings, and I was always on the bottom of the list, and so that was another thing that kind of fueled me. It was like, oh, like these guys don't like me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna dread on it. I want to let it fuel me.
Right.
I want to
Underdog mentality.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, I mean, it's just those little things that I had to appreciate, like learn to not hate him.
Yeah.
More like thanks for the motivation type deal.
Yeah. And so you get a record like that. You come out of high school. You're committed to Ohio State. I want to talk about ego because I've definitely felt, I mean, I think everybody has some sort of it. how well you control it and how you use it to fuel you versus be a hindrance to you. It depends on person to person. I know I've definitely felt it in different areas, whether it's like becoming first monk firefighter or just working out or becoming a Marine, certain titles and accolades that other people give you. Sometimes it kind of feels your ego. I can only imagine at a young age, being like a teenager, having only 4 L's on your record, being committed to Ohio State. I'm sure people in the state know. How was your ego at that time as a senior? After that record, right? You're like, okay, I've got a killer record coming out of here.
It was, my ego is real bad. I mean, it was real bad. I mean, it was something that like I kind of abused it. It was kind of bad. I mean, my parents, they did a real good job of trying to reel me back in.
Keep it down a little bit.
But it was honestly just like I've always wanted to reach the highest level. And I've reached it.
Right.
And so now I'm going to strive in it and like put it out there to the world. And everyone knows that only lasts so long. I mean, it's wrestling college is only a piece of my life.
Yep.
And so I think if I were to do things over, I think I'd change the way I used it to my name.
You think it's possible as a teenager?
For what?
To subdue that ego at the age of 16 when you're killing it?
I think it's possible. I mean, I see a lot of kids nowadays
that have it.
Yeah, and they handle it real well. I think you just got to be dealt with the right cards.
Right.
I mean, there's a kid out there right now in Pennsylvania, and this whole NIL thing, right? Name, image, and likeness.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's brand new to every athlete in the world. And so
wait, explain that a little bit. Explain that.
Yeah, so basically the athletics as a whole has let athletes gain sponsorships.
Okay, that's what we're talking about. Okay, yep.
And so what I was saying with the ego thing, I mean, giving these kids those things, you would think that kids are going to show off, they're going to build their ego to the point where they can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of kids out there that I know that are younger than me that are handling it way better than I was when I was that age. And so, and I didn't even have that much.
Right.
I wasn't even getting paid from companies.
Yeah.
So.
Did you have any who were the wrestlers that you were looking up to? Were you looking up to wrestlers so when you're like 17, 18, were you looking up to certain wrestlers for strictly skill and talent? Or do you think you had the mindset that you were able to look up to wrestlers, also their character at that age, like as a senior in high school, and the wrestlers you look up to and be like, I kind of want to strive to be like those dudes, because we always have to strive to be like somebody, right? Do you want to be the best version of ourselves? Do you think you were paying attention to also their character at the age of 18, or were you more like, I just love that this dude's record, and he's a great wrestler, and I want to be like that? Or was it a combination of?
I think it was kind of both.
Okay.
I mean, I had the right mindset as a high school wrestler. I think I was a knucklehead, but I still knew what to look for when it came to role models.
Right.
I guess that's what we're talking about. But I knew. I think the biggest thing was, like, especially senior year, it was like looking for role models that had good character.
Yeah.
And so it's just who I wanted to be as a college athlete.
Yeah.
And so a lot of wrestlers I kind of had to, I mean, not push away, but kind of just work in space with.
Yeah, narrow your circle, narrow your lane a little bit. Yeah, you kind of got to do that. And I think a lot of people, I know it's something that I went through too, even now. Sometimes you almost feel, sometimes it depends. Some days I feel a little bit bad that I'm like closing some people off. Mm-hmm. But some days when I'm really, really focused, I do understand that you kind of got to do that. Like, it ain't nothing against the people that you want to shove to the side, and you're not even really shoving them to the side. It's just that your blinders are kind of on, so you're focused on like your mission. And so there is a little bit of aspect of that where, like, to really strive for, especially for you when you're trying to strive to the best version of yourself, where you do have to kind of
Exactly.
quiet down some of the noise.
Especially like early years in high school. I mean, you're never gonna have the perfect team. Like,
Yeah.
that's bottom line. I mean, I've come to learn about that and come to just accept it. You're never gonna have the perfect team, and so you're gonna have the knuckleheads. You're gonna have the kids with
Yeah.
bad grades. You're gonna have the kids doing trouble outside of school.
Right.
So, it's kind of going through that process in my system. It was it kind of cleared a lot of things because a lot of my friends, I mean, all my friends are great people. I
Yeah.
think, in my opinion, they don't do the best things, but
Right.
that
That's
just
normal.
comes, yeah,
That's normal.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so that comes where, where do they sit at on the pedestal of your comfort zone?
Yeah.
How close am I gonna let them touch me in a place where it might affect my wrestling
Yeah.
or my life in general? And so
So you had that focus all through well, I'm sure it developed over time as well, but you pretty much kind of had that same focus through high school of like knowing like, hey, this is the goal, this is the path, and I'm just gonna keep my mind on this path.
yeah, I mean, it was real bumpy to start off
Yeah,
with
yeah.
because, I mean, the high school life. You
Yeah,
got a
yeah. You're
girlfriend,
still a teenager. You're
yeah.
still a teenager. Yeah.
And so it was, and not till late senior years where I was like, all right, like now I really like I'm in the zone. I gotta
Yeah.
focus in. Like, I'm looking at the future now. Senior year's done.
Yeah.
I'm about to graduate, and so there's always one thing that my coaches always threw at me. And there was like, high school is the easiest part of your life.
Yeah.
Like graduating high school is not something that it'll get you a job somewhere, but it's not something that you want to just
Right.
ceiling
It doesn't
yourself
end
at.
there. Yeah.
And so that was kind of where everything came in. Everything came together. It was like, all right, like I'm on to something new now. Like I'm creating a different path for myself and my future to where, maybe it might bring myself to a place where I can sustain my wrestling life and my family or career.
Yeah. And then you go. So now we finished with high school, killer record out of it. Now you go to Ohio State to wrestle D1 college. What's that experience like? So I'm guessing that summer, early on, probably you already take off to Ohio.
So I actually didn't leave to Ohio until like the beginning.
School starts?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so August. I was supposed to. Funny is I talked to my advisor like that week, and she was like, "Oh, you're supposed to come in the summer," and I was like, "I didn't get notified." Or
Yeah, no one told me.
Yeah, but yeah, I went there maybe like right when school started, and from that start date, it was kind of just everything was. I had to hop on the bus and just take the ride.
Besides the few people that you met when you went there to do the camp, did you know some people already there?
I didn't.
Yeah, so brand new.
So everything was brand new to me.
First time away from the house, from the home, from
Mhm.
the.
Oh, and that's a big that was a big piece, and just the whole journey as a whole was
Yeah.
just being away from home.
Yeah, that's a big journey. Because I know I talked with Michael Vang, the guy who plays Portland Timber MLS, and he went to Portugal, and that was his first time leaving. And I remember when I was 18, I left to the Marine Corps, which was my first time. Yeah, it was my first time leaving away from home. But yeah, that's a challenge, leaving your home at 18, especially when you go for athletics too. And know that you have to hold your own when you get there.
It's mentally draining, man. It's like for example, like I went through my whole life just wrestling at tournaments with my dad or like my mom being there, and so now that I have to wrestle alone and kind of just have these brand new coaches on my side and hope that they have my best interests.
Yeah, your best
And
interest.
so it's kind of it's kind of a leap of faith.
Yep.
For a chance. And so, I mean, it was different, but.
And was the training regiment something completely outside of what you had experienced as soon as you get there? Or is it kind of, I'm assuming it, I mean, it's Ohio D1 college, so I can only assume that it's a grind the minute you hit your feet get there.
Yeah. So it was definitely a tough start off. Like I said, the transition from high school to college in any sport is going to be just taking a huge step. And so I think right off the bat, the coaches, I mean, this is all wrestling coaches, I think, but their main objective is to break you.
Yeah.
Give them that sense of what college is. And so I remember that first practice going in there, and it was probably the toughest practice I've ever been in.
Through all your experience, that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
one that you're
It
like,
was
holy
just
crap, this is
An hour, probably the shortest practice, but hardest, just grueling. Everyone came out, bloody noses, black
Yeah.
eyes. It was, you just went in there for an hour, got beat up, and then come back tomorrow and do the same thing. And so I think that first one was kind of like a wow. Like,
So what'd you think at the end of that practice? Were you like, this is gonna be really tough and I don't know how I'm gonna fare up, or you just say, all right, this is this is what it is and better toughen up fast.
yeah. I think right after it, I called my dad and I was crying on the phone. I was telling him, I was like, I'm not made for this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. And he was just, I remember him telling me, he was like, hey, like, it's just a start. Like,
Yeah,
you're
right.
a freshman in this.
It's to
you know?
start.
These guys are 20, 30, you're only 18. So you got to realize these things. And so I think start like right after that practice, there was just negativity building up in my mind.
Yeah.
But after a while, I mean, I grew up with adversity, like,
Yeah.
so I know what it is. And so I learned how to cope with it too.
Yeah.
And so
Were you able to settle into a groove a little bit then fairly quickly, or did it take a while to adjust through that season?
it took a while. I
Yeah.
mean, it was like there was a lot of ups and downs. Like right when I'd start the peak and I'd think, oh, I'm getting there, is
Yeah.
when I'd get shut down.
Yeah.
Like I'm wrestling with a kid that's way better than me now, and I'm just beat the hell out of me all
Yeah.
practice. And so it was a bumpy process.
Yeah. And outside of wrestling, we can't forget you've got your school schedule.
Mhm.
You're adjusting to not really having any friends or anything like that you can confide in outside of the sport to get your mind outside of the sport.
Mhm.
That balance, right? Because of course wrestling takes up your life, but then we also have that personal life that when people highlight other people who've done things, it's like we never talk enough about like they're just going through life as well. So there's this whole social side that they're dealing with as well, where they don't know anybody, they have new coaches. Were you able to establish a group of people within? How long were you over there at Oregon State?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. So in that time, were you able to develop a group of friends and coaches that made you feel like not at home, but that these people have my best interest in mind? Were you able to find that in that time frame?
I would say
Because 2 years is short.
Yeah,
In
it
the,
is
in the, in
very
the grand scheme of things, 2 years is short.
I think in the last portion of it, I think it was starting to mold together.
Yeah.
But starting off, it was like my first, like, this is very like I'm being so serious about this, but like my first year there, I had no friends.
Yeah.
No friends. I was practice, school, and then back home. That was my whole life back there. And so it was definitely a tough process, especially with the environment. I mean, it's like I'm going from a very diverse place to a not very diverse place.
Yeah.
And so you kind of felt like a outcast walking around campus.
Where is Ohio? Where in Ohio is?
What city? Or
Is that just a small town in Ohio?
Columbus.
Oh, it's in Columbus.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. And so Columbus is very populated.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of people there. Campus is huge. And it's a great campus. I mean, my second year there, I had the best time of my life. I mean, I was hanging out with all my teammates, see my coaches everywhere. And so it was second year is where everything started to mold together and started to build that camaraderie with my teammates and coaches. And they kind of, that's kind of where my transfer idea came into place because, me and my coaches talked a lot and we knew things weren't going to work out. And so it was just kind of had to happen.
And what do you think that was? Was it just a level? Was it? Because that's when you meet adversity, right? Because I looked at your record a little bit when you get to college at Ohio, and then it doesn't go the same way as it did in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably something new for you, first of
yeah.
all. It's something new, a new test. Yeah, what was that like? Like that adversity of realizing like I've met a level that I'm not necessarily succeeding like how I'd want to. Especially from coming with a background of having only 4 L's through a 4-year high school career. Now you get to college at Division I Ohio State. You're taking some losses. What's going on through your mind at that time? Like, do you just tough it out and say I have to work more? Do you say maybe I don't have that extra thing that I need?
I think it was that. I think you just hit it on the dot. I mean, it's me, and I mean, I talked to a lot of people about this, but it was, I just found myself not progressing anymore.
Yeah.
And it came to a point where, I started to think like, am I made to be here?
Right.
Am I supposed to be here? Or am I ever, it just started getting realistic. It was like, am I supposed to be at a D2 school
Yeah.
and not here?
Where in D1 you think was where you felt like you felt? And I'm not trying to blow you out. I just want to talk about it because I think it's a realistic thing to not always be at the top. Like we talked about earlier, when I was in the Marine Corps, when I was firefighting, I was never the bottom of the barrel. I was high, middle of the pack. And at some point I had to be honest with myself and say, look, you're not going to beat some of these dudes who are collegiate athletes with you, who, like a person like yourself, who's a collegiate wrestler, who came to the Marine Corps. Like, this dude's going to outgrind me every single day. I don't care what I do. I could train harder. I could diet right. I could sleep more than him. I could have the same hunger, but physically, I just can't take him. And my ego for a long time said that that's not it. But then at some point I was like, dude, you have to just look at the facts here. You have to be honest with yourself and look at it and say, some dudes just got talents that you don't have, whether it's genetic or they're just whatever it might be. Like, is that kind of what you came to realization to? I mean, you're at the highest state of Ohio wrestling, so there's no shame in saying, because just to get there, first of all, most people won't even touch that.
Oh, yeah.
Those mats.
Oh, yeah. It's, I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
I came to that. It got to a point where, I started thinking like that. I mean, I'm still thinking it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think honestly, it comes with age.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Growing up, kids are going to, there's always going to be new recruits. There's never going to be
The competition never
endless class of athletes. And so as I get older, I just start thinking like, my body's broken. These kids are coming in fresh. I'm getting older. I'm getting slower. And so I think I am coming to a realization, and I did come to a realization out there. It's like, for example, like there's a kid out there right now that All-American this year at my weight, and he's only a freshman.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I would have stayed out there this year, what?
That's who you're going to
what
cross.
Yeah, exactly. And so I kind of had to realize that and kind of put it into perspective and be realistic with myself.
And I think that's an important thing. Being real with yourself and not living in this daydream of like, oh, well, I made it here. I must be of the caliber. You have to be super honest with yourself and say, maybe I am really good, but there's levels to every game. Doesn't matter which industry, which sport. Do you think for you was there a little bit of, was it in the practice room where you kind of saw that it's harder to keep up, or was it just in competition?
I would say in competition.
Yeah, competition.
Practices. I mean, I've been practicing all my life.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've learned to come to learn. I've come to know how to get beat up. I've come to know how to take success. And so in the practice room, it's family. I mean, with my brothers, my coaches, and so it's like it's just another day in the gym.
Yeah.
And so, but when it came to competition, it's like my mind just couldn't meet the same standards.
Yeah.
And so there's, like I said, I was never always mentally tough.
Yeah.
I mean, now I feel like I'm pretty good there.
Yep.
But I still got things to do to meet my expectation. But in competition, I couldn't connect that wire, and I couldn't get it going. I knew in my mind that I've trained my whole life for this, and I'm just as good as this guy or better. And if he does beat me, it's not gonna be by much. But it's just, like I said, it just kind of put it into action.
You think there was a lot of, wow, I can assume, but I'm gonna ask. There's probably a ton of growth and a couple of losses that that level then, huh?
Oh yeah. I
A lot
mean,
to learn about yourself.
like you said, I had such a great record. Never got taken down my high school
Oh,
career.
dang.
And
Yeah.
so it was like I get taken down in college and I'm immediately like shock in my mind,
Yeah.
like, what are you doing?
You're in a spot that you
Yeah.
haven't been in on the mat. Yeah.
Exactly. Like I've never got put to my ass like that.
Yeah.
And so it was weird. And when I was at Ohio State, it was the first time I got pinned in
Yeah.
like forever. And so I was like, I haven't got pinned since I was like
Yeah.
middle
Yeah. In a
school.
long yeah. You forgot what it's like
Mhm.
to feel how to be pinned. Yeah.
Mhm. And so I didn't know how to handle that anymore. And I think that also came with a lot of growth. I had to it was like starting at square one again.
Yeah.
I mean, it honestly is. You growing up with me in the club that my dad put me and my brother in, it was like I had to start out at the bottom, make my way to the top. And it was the same thing for college. Start at the bottom, make my way to the top.
Yeah. All right. So you get you go through that adversity at Ohio State, and then what happens? Then you guys decide you're gonna come over to St. Cloud State because you had talked to St. Cloud before. So obviously, were you still in contact? Well, were you still in contact with them in that time, or you're just straight focused on Ohio until you started to realize maybe I got to make an adjustment here?
I actually gave up on St. Cloud right after I committed, and even throughout when I was at Ohio, it wasn't even St. Cloud wasn't my first pick.
Yeah.
When I decided to enter the transfer portal, I kind of just wanted to see where things would pan out, see who would reach out. I had decent grades, not the best
Yeah,
grades
yeah.
at Ohio State, and so sorry. A lot of the colleges that talked to me were Ivy League.
Yeah.
And so I knew I wasn't gonna get money
On
from them.
academics. Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, like I don't want to have to pay X amount of money when I could just be paying money to go to school here at
Yeah.
Ohio State still. And so I remember I thought back to my senior year and I was like, oh well, St. Cloud State, they wanted me, so I'm gonna talk to them. And I talked to my parents and I had a couple of schools in mind and we had long talks about it and they weren't the most pleasant
Right.
because they were looking for my best interests. I was trying to look for my best interests. Same with them too. I didn't want to be too far from them and I wanted to be close to the family because I mean I had no family in Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean my last year at Ohio I didn't have any family because my aunt ended up moving to Florida.
Okay.
And so it was tough, and I wanted to be closer to the family.
Yeah.
So me and my parents talked about it, and they're like, you know, like I think St. Cloud's probably the best fit. I mean, they're the only thing they're worried about was the environment, and just like they knew it was a party school. So
Right.
and I kind of grew out of that
Yeah.
at Ohio State. So I mean, it's
You
not
got
a
your
problem.
party,
with
you
me.
got your party down,
Yeah.
party out the way at Ohio.
Yeah. And so, yeah, right now everything's falling into place.
Yeah.
and it's been working out lately. I mean, everything's kind of settling, and my parents are more comfortable with how everything is laying out. I mean, I'm doing a lot better in school, a lot better
Yeah.
in wrestling. Just as me as a person, I think I'm way better than I was at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, because so now this was your first year at St. Cloud, or
this is my first full year.
first full year that it's still ongoing, right? Or is it done?
Yeah, it's done in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
I'm going to U.S. Open next week.
Oh, dang.
So
Okay.
I'm probably not even gonna be at school on finals week.
What is the season for wrestling in college? Is it in the fall?
Yeah.
Through winter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it starts in August and then gets done in March.
So you just got done, and then you just been. I assume you're because you know you get the open coming. You've just been training, keeping conditioned,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that it's coming.
Yeah, me and my parents, we didn't know if we were gonna go to the U.S.
Yeah.
Open. Last year I wrestled at World Team Trials for U23s, and I got 4th there. So that was kind of the first thing that my dad came to mind. He was like, "Oh, well, you're still in it, like."
Right.
still
Yeah.
got-
Yeah. You're still in the.
Like, you're still in the mix. I mean,
Yeah, you're
not-
still in the
You're
mix.
still placing top 5 out
Yeah.
of the country. You know, you're
Right.
all American at these things. So, we're really taking this summer to grind and try to make a world team. And
Yeah.
so that's the goal right now.
And the world team is so excuse me because I don't know a lot about wrestling. The world team is you've got the college level competition, D1, D2, all that, and then the rest is like wrestling federation style.
Mm-hmm. like
competition?
international stuff.
Okay.
And so yeah, so the U.S. is the only country that wrestles the folk style, the collegiate style of wrestling, and so like Olympic, world team,
That's
world
Greco,
team
right?
stuff. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
that's
Greco
Greco, yeah.
freestyle, and I'm going for Greco. I like Greco the most.
Is it a big adjustment between the two?
Um,
Or is it just different points scoring system?
I think it's just different point scoring
Okay.
system between collegiate and freestyle and Greco. But freestyle and Greco, they're pretty similar. It's just little minor things you have to
Yeah.
tweak. Like Greco, you can't touch legs. Freestyle, you
Okay.
can. And so Greco's more all throws, kind of like judo in a
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
But yeah,
Nice. So that's next. You're going out there next week?
yeah, heading out to Las Vegas.
Oh, it's in Vegas.
And yeah, still got to make weight.
Who's your who you taking there with you? Like who you joining up? You get coaches that are coming with?
I typically just go on my own.
Oh, really?
And just coach myself, but I think my dad's gonna try to make his way out there and try to stick in my corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd your wrestling season go this year at
This
St.
year,
Cloud?
it went decent. I mean, like I said, there's still a lot of things to discuss with my coaches.
Yeah.
and, I mean, my record was a lot better.
Yeah.
I think I was like 20-6,
Yep.
and so it was real nice seeing a positive record
Yeah.
on there and just seeing a lot more growth, and is I think a big something that played a big impact is that I was a team captain, and so
Okay.
I had to.
Yeah, right on.
I was taking another stand as a wrestler. I had to carry my team on my back, and so I think just by leading by example and kind of taking these new kids through the ropes and teaching them how to get things done.
Yeah, and
honestly.
you have a lot to share too because you've not only gotten the state titles there, but then you also went to D1 school. You got to experience what that was like. Got to be challenged. Got to win. Got to lose some. So a little bit of adversity, the up downs of the journey, the emotional. So, I mean, that's great. I think that's awesome that you got to be a captain because, like you said, sometimes when someone puts a title on us like that, then it's like, okay, I gotta not only focus on myself and my growth and be a better wrestler, but also how do I mentor? I mean, you're mentoring new guys
Exactly.
coming on.
Mm-hmm. And it's honestly, it just gave me something else to look forward
Yeah.
to. I mean, just being another wrestler on the team is not what I want to be.
Yeah,
I mean, I want to do something.
Yeah.
Like, that's always been the mindset since day one. Is like I don't want to just. When I went to Ohio State, I didn't want to just be another wrestler.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I left because
Yeah.
I ended up being just another wrestler.
yeah,
And so it was once I got put as captain, I was like, oh, well, now I got a purpose. Like,
yeah, right.
now I'm obligated to go to practice. I'm obligated to get good grades because if I'm not getting good grades
Yeah, yeah.
as a captain, then my freshmen aren't going to want to get good
Yeah,
grades.
who are you to tell
So-
somebody to get good grades if your
Exactly.
grades suck? Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, you automatically have a standard that kind of rises a little bit more and say, hey, this is the standard I got to uphold now. So
Exactly.
it's a good thing because
Yeah.
it allows you to stay disciplined on top of anything, in all facets of life, not just wrestling.
Mhm.
And so you have it's the U.S. Open,
Yep.
U.S. Open
US Open.
competition. Inside that's next week in Vegas.
Yep.
You ready?
I feel ready. I mean,
No,
I'm
no nagging,
wrestling-
no nagging anything.
No, but I'm wrestling in the senior division, so I'm
Okay.
wrestling grown men out there. I'm not
Okay.
wrestling in the university's age group, but yeah, I feel good.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm at the right weight. I mean, I still got a couple pounds to lose, but
Is that gonna be televised anywhere, or how can I watch that? Is it stream or
I
something?
think it might be streamed, but
I'll have to look
I'd have
for
to
it.
look. But it's one of the biggest tournaments. I place top 3. I get to be on alternate. So there's levels to this. So you go to U.S. Open, and then there's something called Final X,
Okay.
which is like the previous world team member
Okay.
goes to, and you go against them. You go best 2 or 3, and so I honestly, as a realistic goal, I want to place top 3. Not really as someone not being as experienced as
Yeah.
those guys. I mean, I'm not really looking to. I'm not gonna be heartbroken if I lost.
Right.
I want to win, but I'm not gonna dread it. I'm gonna use it
Yeah.
for next year, and so
Yeah. And is that the route for Olympics? Is that the route then?
Yep.
U.S.
Same-
Open
it's
to
the same
Final
thing.
X, and then if you win that, Final X, right?
Yep.
And then if you win that or place there, then
So then you make the world team.
and the world team is then the team who goes to the Olympics.
Mm-hmm. And so
Yeah, that'd still be a hell of a goal.
yeah, it's I still got a long ways to
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Man. It's been a long goal of mine. It's been a long time goal of mine to just try. I mean, I think a big part plays is my family. Uh, I just want to do it because they put all the work in me, all the money, all the
Yeah.
sacrifice. And then my grandpa, he also wants to see me compete
Yeah.
internationally. So doing it for my family.
Yeah, it'll make a lot of
primarily.
people proud, not just your
Yeah.
family. I mean, I just met you. It'd make me proud. Our community, that's the Hmong community as well, it would make them proud. But ultimately, it's the people close to you, like your folks who watched it from the very beginning.
Mhm.
And I think I'd say for as being a little bit older than you or whatever, for whatever that means, is like I think just the fact that you're trying and just saying like, yo, I'm gonna give this a shot, go for it, win or lose. It's like, hey, you're doing it, you know.
Mhm.
And that's really, as we wrap up the podcast, that's really, I try to get people on here who've gone through some things, and everybody's gone through things, right? Whether it be like getting a job as an accountant or manager of a bank, any of that. There's always lessons in it that I want to try to learn for myself, and in return share some of the things that I've learned as well. But I think in your journey, like in the last hour that we get to talk, it's just cool hearing your story up close, and then also like learning the little intricacies in between of it all, and just knowing that like, and hearing that it's a challenging path, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
sometimes it's just I forget that when someone has the accolades, there's a path that's difficult to get
Mhm.
through. It's also cool. I'm glad that your journey is like just, I mean, shit, it could be the beginning for anything, right?
Right.
It's not, it's still moving forward. So it's cool to meet you in this transition spot too, where now there's new goals, new levels. What's next? What's next after? Are we thinking that far? Or are we just wrestling and finishing school for now?
Yeah,
Keep it
right now, I think right now is the goal
just
is finish
focus.
school and kind of just focus on wrestling. But I've thought about. I mean, I'm forced to. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
senior right now. I'm graduating next
Oh,
year.
this is your last. Oh, next
So
year's your
I'm
last year.
because I'm a transfer, and so some
Okay.
of my credits didn't go all the way through. So I was supposed to graduate this
Oh,
semester.
okay. So
but
next year will be.
So I'm kind of forced to think about my
Yeah,
future
absolutely.
right now. I mean, being a physical education teacher is I'm gonna have to really dive deep into finding a job, and so I have
Yep.
to really. I'm forced to look at those things right now. But I think my ultimate goal is just to give back to the communities, and then be a coach, find a job, and just continue to do my thing. I mean, I don't just because I'm not in college doesn't mean I don't want to stop wrestling. And
Yeah.
so ultimately the goal is the same. I mean, it's just at different levels.
Yeah. And, life is always about just different chapters, right? So it's like, especially being young age or any age for that matter, it is about just writing different chapters. Ultimately, it's your life. You're the one that lives with yourself. I'm the one that lives with myself. And so it's just writing chapters in our own life and just giving it a shot, trying our best, see what happens.
Right.
Well, listen, man, I'm gonna wrap up the pod here. I'm super thankful that you came through, slid through. We hadn't met before. Fortunate for me that you're wrestling in this state now, so I can actually get in touch with you in person
Right.
and like actually talk like this. I think your story is super inspiring. I respect the hustle. I respect the grind. I can only imagine. I can't even put it next to my Marine Corps and firefighting experience. I can only imagine the grind and the dedication that it takes to like go through it day after day, and then still being motivated enough and still focused enough to say and I know you will use everything that you've learned to just like attach it to your back and use it as experience as you keep growing, and and that work ethic, in my opinion, is one that'll take you far. So I appreciate you being on. I think that's all I got. Yeah, I appreciate you being on and sharing your story, and I hope that the people listening will enjoy having heard your conversation and knowing more about who you are.
Yeah.
And I know that I'll be tuning in. Hopefully, I'm gonna message you, try to find that link
For sure.
and watch you on the mat.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me too. I mean, now like I was telling you, it's been a while since I've done one of
Yeah.
these, so kind of opens it up again, and yeah, just
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, yeah. Hey, everybody out there, let's support Phil and wish him the best. And all right, man, we'll wrap it up.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Thank you.